On today's DNVR Nuggets podcast, the two-man game with me and Brendan Vogt. Why? Because we have hangover takes and Eric's hungover.
That was good.
It's true. Also, we're going to talk about the Jokic rules. New rules for stopping Jokic just dropped. One of the most important games on the schedule remaining for the Nuggets. And then we're going to scratch the surface with the Colorado lottery and become rich beyond our wildest dreams. This is DNVR Nuggets. Oh, let's do it, baby. Casual Thursday. Feels like a Friday.
It does feel like a
Tomorrow,
Friday.
the takeover feels like a Saturday.
We just have an extra weekend day.
Hell yeah, man. We're speaking my language now. What is up, everybody? Welcome to the DNVR Nuggets Podcast. Presented by Bet365. Download the Bet365 app and use the code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. We're also here at the Toyota Lounge, driven by your Front Range Toyota stores. Toyota, the official vehicle of DNVR. Say we're in a nice Camry today.
Two-seater,
two-seater. Yeah.
Yeah. Camry's actually a four-door and a four-seater, but whatever.
What are we don't need facts over here. What are you doing?
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It's going to be a great show. We got all those things lined up. And I got to be honest, man, sometimes hangover takes, it's just like a deeper perspective on my initial takes. Kind of different perspective on the game after
awesome.
Sleeping on it, watching it, hanging out, thinking about it, ruminating on it. I got some different updated thoughts, actually more positive than anything. And of course, I'm with my old Denver Stiffs partner, Brendan Vogt.
Just a couple of stiffs hanging out, talking Denver Nuggets basketball. And after a win, too. What a treat. Lots to talk about, I think, after that game. And we actually started in the press conferences, I thought, last night, which were great. Some good quotes from the players and the coaches.
They really were good, man. They really were good. Malone had his Malone's the same every time. Serious, but you could also tell happy. It's almost like how I'll discipline my kid when they do something bad, but that I'm also a little proud of.
He talks his way out of it.
Yeah.
He starts stern, then realizes, oh, wait, we won.
Like your kid gets in a fight, somebody else provoked them, and now they're in trouble, but you got them, and you're like, you know what? No. But hey, good job on that.
Way to stick up for yourself.
You got to stick up for yourself. That's what it was like. So the Nuggets get the win last night, and like I said, my initial reaction to it, everybody saw on the show, the game was so frustrating, I think, for so many different reasons. And so when they pull ahead, there's this relief, but not necessarily joy. I think as I thought about it a little bit more, it's more like, you know what? This is good. It's good for them to be tested in these ways. And some of the ways they responded to it were actually more positive. So I woke up today, sun was shining. I was a little bit more optimistic and positive about it. But you were at the arena. How positive or negative were you when you watched the game from the arena last night?
It was a tough watch. It was a really, really tough watch. A lot of challenges, a lot of stoppages, a lot of foul calls.
Yeah.
Or non-foul calls.
That's like they called horrible fouls and then didn't call fouls.
And there was a choppiness, I think, to the stops of that game that sort of didn't allow. The Nuggets were slowly creeping their way back into that game after the first quarter and really were in control of it. But it was almost like no one ever got to feel that way in the arena. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's part of what it is we're waiting for this moment, and it just didn't really ever come.
Didn't really come, but in the fourth quarter, that run when Russell Westbrook, I really think was the engine here. But those five guys and Mike even playing defense, man, flying around and just playing with an energy that was required to flip that game on its head, and that was, I think, the most the crowd fed off of it, and was like, oh yeah, there are our Nuggets. And I think everyone, I'm maybe speaking for other people, but it felt like, okay, they're gonna win this game, but when?
Yeah.
When is it gonna happen?
Yeah.
And I thought, the tide turned when Westbrook and company just through sheer will made it happen.
So that was the loudest the arena got, was in that run there, because it was like a couple steals, fast break. It was like 8-0 immediately.
There were some big exclamation points. Westbrook's corner three, Jamal's three, which was the real dagger, but the crowd up on its feet. Oh, we're doing this?
Yeah.
It was the start of the fourth quarter. And but it took a while, man. And I think everyone hates watching the Jokic Rules stuff. And for several reasons that we'll get to throughout the show.
Were people kind of taking note? Was that a topic of conversation at the arena of like, damn, they're beating the hell out of him?
Yeah, there's a lot of groaning. There's a lot of that's a foul. There's a lot of just get him the ball. There's even some just shoot anyway at Yoke, right? Like, just shoot when he does have the ball. Just the look, there was a palpable sense of frustration from Jokic last night, and I felt like it permeated the arena. But, I think there was a sense of relief when the Nuggets were able to just start playing real basketball again.
So I'm surprised the moment you didn't say, which I would have guessed would have been, if not the loud moment, because Westbrook's corner 3 to me, that was the dagger. Murray's 3 should have been the dagger. They went up 6, but Levine hit one immediately after. Right. So it was like a short-lived dagger almost. But the one you didn't mention was Zeke Najee's top of the arc 3 that put him up for the first time. And I was just curious, man. This is actually one of my big questions.
That may have been it.
But here's one of my big questions. We all remember when Will Barton got booed at the arena in the playoff game, and like fans picking guys they like and don't like. Zeke Naji earlier in the year, every time he checked into the game was a collective groan in Ball Arena of like, argh. But has he won over the fan base?
Yes. Fan bases are I think there's a sort of collective intelligence in the room, in the arena, and without polling everyone individually, you can sort of get a sense of these things. And the cheers when Zeke checks into the game or checks out of the game are very noticeable. The cheers when he blocks a shot. Yeah. There's even a sense of like, all right, someone's got Zeke on an island and they're going to try him.
And there's like an excitement.
There's a little bit of like,
stick him. Let's go. Stick him.
Right now, teams are still treating him like Christian Brown or Russell Westbrook from 3. But he's hitting these shots too, so people are liking the open 3. I mean,
I love that it was him that pushed them over the hump. I know they coughed up the lead again, but that was the first lead, and it was like, hell yeah, Zeke.
I think sometimes with good intentions, on a show like this, you can maybe overstate a moment like this or get carried away with a dynamic like this. But my point is, I think this is one that is very real and in the arena. Like, this is a Zeke moment. But one thing I put into words today is, it's graduated, man, from a feel-good story to like, oh no, Zeke's out there. This is good. Right. This is good for the team.
Like, hell yeah, we got our stopper on the court. Yeah. Let us know in the Toyota chat, by the way. I'm curious, and Kale, keep an eye on what other people's hangover takes are, because I'm always curious how people, if your perspective is updated, you sleep on it or whatever. I'm going to go start with this one for my hangover take. Michael Malone was right. I criticized him last night because he said our offense shouldn't affect our defense, which, by the way, that part I think is a little bit of a cliche that's objectively not true. Your offense does affect your defense. You're in transition more. But I think that what he was really getting at, what he means by that, is that when teams play this style, the Jokic Rules we'll talk about, where they're trying to muck up your half court and it gets things hard and some of the limitations of Denver's shooters, I think that the defense really does have to start for them. And I hate it because I always love when your offense starts it. It feels like it's easier to create connection and rhythm on the offensive end. But I think that the truth of this year, more so than any other year, is that Denver is going to have to defend because they can beat everyone. Russell Westbrook is both a wing and a weight to this team. He can be a weight in the ways that are obvious, so they're not going to guard him or what have you. But he's a wing in that you get him in transition, you get the team moving, they're scoring every time. And so I think Malone is right that, hey, they were scoring too easy off of turnovers, one, but also just in the half court. You get in a half court possession, don't let them score. Yeah. Create an avalanche.
Yeah, and Malone has talked about this all year, man, like just how good this Nuggets team in transition is and the painful irony of that being true of a team that doesn't do very well on defense and doesn't always get a lot of stops. Yeah. Because Malone's point all year is, he's been trying to get through to them, is can you guys just imagine? Yeah. Look how good you are in transition. So if the lion's share of your effort is to generate transition through good defense, through getting stops, like just this stuff won't matter so much. The reason though why because in the moment I didn't like the quote either. It does feel because the conversation right now is, oh, there's a foolproof strategy on stopping Jokic. Yeah. So people maybe didn't want to hear the head coach go like, oh, I don't even care about that. Sort of, well, maybe we should care about it.
And they do care, obviously.
But I think that's actually the point. Yeah. It's like, one of my hangover takes is we've done this before. A little bit of deja vu. Even before the Rui adjustment. Like, it's more intense with this roster for Denver, but this is not the first time that teams have decided to start doing this on Jokic, even in the middle of the season. So I think they trust that they've seen it before. They can work their way out of it. But in the meantime, like, the margin for error stuff, like you got to hold the line on defense, and that's how you avoid sinking.
100%. And Denver this year has won with offense. There have not been large stretches where they played good defense, but this is the time, and you just want to know, what does it look like? I keep telling myself in the playoffs the team's going to play good defense because that's what happens every year. But I do think they need to figure that out now, get some momentum going into it, but also to just break this defense and be like, you guys do that, man. We're going to get stops on you in the half court, and we're going to get out and run, and you're not going to be able to stop it. Another hangover take I have, Jamal Murray in his post-game press conference last night played one note very loudly and deliberately that stood out to me, and that was unwavering support for Russell Westbrook to take three-point shots. And it wasn't just Westbrook three-point shots. It was like, yeah, you guys, like, we don't care that they're not guarding. We don't care. I'm giving it to him every time. He can shoot. He can score. He can make decisions. And it was so out of the way where I'm sure he also believes these things. I'm not trying to say it's only ulterior motives. But I also liked it in this. I always talk about confidence. Players need confidence. They need to know that their coach believes in them. They need to know their teammates believe in them. I thought Murray's message to the media last night, but really it sounded like more like he was talking to Russ, was, hey, man, don't worry. Take that shot. Take those shots. And I think there is a layer of truth to it. As much as teams are going to allow him to go 4 of 7 and not change up their scheme, guess what? You win with 4 of 7.
Yeah.
So I think that was what Murray was saying, is like, you guys do that. I hope you live to regret it.
Right, because I'm going to keep giving Christian and Russ, because you're talking about the both of them, what we call practice shots. And like, look, with enough looks, those guys can hit some of those shots that will change the game. There's a balance to this. And I think I'm guilty of sort of overstating exactly what it was after the Boston game. The catch and shoot stuff is one thing, especially in the corners. By the way, from the right corner this year, Russ is shooting like 38% from 3. So from the corners, it's different, I think. Maybe some of the pull-up jumpers and stuff, I feel maybe could that be eliminated? But the part of it right now is like, yeah, there are some adjustments we could try, but also like these are wide open shots. So we're going to keep giving it to them. They need to keep shooting it. On the Christian side of things, he said, sometimes I think Christian starts overthinking when guys are leaving him wide open to shoot. Yeah. We always say, fans and media, they're leaving you open for a reason. Murray's message was, just take the shot you're open. Don't worry about it. Just keep shooting. So there is a balance, but the confidence part of it is important.
Yeah. And that's just what this is all about, is everybody feeling like, hey, man, this is how we'll win or lose, and if you make or miss, it's like, it doesn't matter. That's the game plan. Do it. That's what we want, and we'll all live with whatever result comes out of that. Don't be in your head about it. And my last hangover take here for you, this one's a tough one for you. One thing that's going on right now is that Michael Porter Jr. picked the worst time to have a slump, because 1, they're coming against good teams, which may or may not be a coincidence, but 2, he is getting open looks from 3. It's not like he's not getting open looks. And one of the things Denver needs right now is 3-point shots going down. And he's just in the slump right now. I feel like, I'm not sure if I'm encouraged or discouraged by that. I'm certainly discouraged because it's coming against physical defenses, good teams, and you want to see that pattern break. You want to see him have a string together good games against good teams. But the other part of me goes, if Mike is not 1 of 9 last night, he's 3 of 9, not even a good percentage, 3 of 9. This game's probably never... It's always close, and Denver's run, is much more comfortable lead. So I don't know. You can look at this 2 different ways, Vogt. Which way are you looking at it?
Both. I'm looking at it both ways right now, for sure. The Jokic rules might be less effective if Denver's resident flamethrower could knock down a 3.
Yeah.
And I think this is where sometimes people talk about the difference between Porter as a currently good and helpful player and then reaching his potential. And in this area, it's as a shooter, it's supposed to be game plan breaking potential, as in this game plan.
Yeah.
As in, you're just daring guys to shoot. It should be really, really easy for him, of all people, to make them pay. And he's not right now. I think, so on one hand, like, streakiness is common. It's a part of life for every shooter. We did just 8 games ago see him putting up some pretty good numbers. On the other, there does seem to be a common denominator that some of his worst shooting performances have come in the tight games against the other good teams that are trying some of this stuff on defense. Porter's got to be able to break that game plan as a shooter. And it was the real-time adjustments in the drives were nice and important in the first quarter last night, but there is something too, like, as teams keep throwing this at you, like, eventually part of the solve just has to be Porter is open, and that's a bad idea.
Yeah, and they just need it from him. And I mean, he did contribute on the boards last night. He did contribute. It got to the rim a couple times in key moments of the game. Like, But when we talked about every player has something that's more important than the other thing right now for him, Mike could make threes. And I think tomorrow night's game against the Phoenix Suns is a good opportunity for this because they're a soft defense. They're not a very connected team. They're not a connected defense, and they're not very physical. Tomorrow night is a great opportunity for him to make 4 threes. Just get back in a rhythm before you hit this statement week that is staring them in the face after that game. And so for me, I just want to see it. I mean, Denver right now, it looks extra bad, but I don't think it would look as bad as Michael Porter didn't slump in the Laker game, didn't slump in this one, didn't slump in the Boston game. If he just makes some of the threes in there, you're like, all right, doesn't feel like it feels right now.
Totally. And now that this matchup has changed, but one team and one fan base, I'll tell you right now, that is very aware of what Michael Porter Jr. can do, is the Los Angeles Lakers and their fans. And in that last matchup, he was a non-factor. And he actually, when I say game plan breaking potential, I actually think in the Lakers series, we have seen Mike as a game plan breaker more than ever.
Yeah.
Would love to see it in this upcoming Lakers matchup and one of the 2 Thunder matchups, just to instill some belief and assuage some of that anxiety.
Oh, man. Bring out your dictionaries, everybody. We're going deep today. Let's take a break. On the other side, our headline topic is about the Jokic rules. What are they? Who's doing it? What can Denver do about it? And is it complete and utter BS? We're going to talk about all those things on the other side.
Hey, get your hands on the new limited edition $5 Denver Nuggets scratch game. We're playing the lottery, folks. The Colorado lottery. Overall top prize is $50,000. 50. There are 25 $5,280 prizes, deepening the brand connection to the Nuggets Mile High Basketball. You guys know about that, 5280, right? And providing a high number of value winning experiences. This is perfect if you are a Nuggets fan or a Scratch fan. It's available now. So yeah, man, I mean, look, if Scratch is your thing and the Nuggets are your thing, this is something you can synthesize here.
What ticket number do you have at the bottom, right?
000.
Oh, I have 001. I don't know what's better.
Do we have the first
We have the very first tickets, Kale. Is this a good sign?
I don't know, but that's pretty sick.
We're opening these, by the way, in segment 4. We're going to find out. How much could we have won?
I think it's 25 grand. Is
no, it's up to 50. Up to 50 grand.
There's a chance on this very show one of us wins $50,000.
Although I got to say, I feel like if we have the first 2 tickets ever issued, our odds
are through the roof.
I don't know. It's not looking good. All right. I doubt they'd put it in the first one. I don't know. I don't know how it works.
You never know.
Maybe it's truly. I don't know how it works. But this is perfect if you're a Nuggets fan or a Scratch fan. It's available now, so keep your eyes peeled. And you could win up to 20 times here with the Colorado lottery. If you do win, this is legally bought. Just kidding. I can't say that. You have to give it to me. That's a joke. That's a joke.
You don't actually have to.
You don't actually have to give it to me. And now let's talk about Mando. Because it's important to smell good, folks, and that's more than just an armpit game. You know what I mean? For the longest time, I thought just a little stripe of Old Spice. I'm smelling good. Nope.
That's out the door, baby. That's old.
No, and that's just armpits. I need something that's got me covered from head to toe. That's what I'm talking about. Mando, which overtly calls out more colorful parts of men's bodies, such as pits, bellies, buttons, balls, butt cracks, grundles, munders, and more, folks. Their scents are geared towards men with options like bourbon leather, Cloverwoods, Mount Fuji, and Pro Sport. Remember when Eric told us that his grundle smells like Mount Fuji? I don't know if that was a good read, but it did happen. Mando's starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant, cream tube deodorant, 2 free products of your choice like mini bodied wash and deodorant wipes, and free shipping. As a special offer for listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code DNVR at shopmando.com. That's shopmando, MANDO.com.
Alrighty, we're back here, segment 2. Everybody throw us a like button. Everybody make sure you throw us a subscribe as well. We're trying to grow our channel. Get geared up. We're gearing up for the playoffs ourselves. We got to get our 3-point shot going.
Yeah, that's right, which is not, mine's never worked. It's a metaphor.
The Jokic rules just dropped. Mastermind by one JJ Redick.
Don't let him get the ball.
Don't let him get the ball at all costs. I mean, there was this stat earlier in the year that when Jokic is off the floor, the Nuggets' offensive rating is worse than any team in the history of the NBA. But when he is on the floor, it's the best in NBA history. I think a part of if we talk about what are they, I think they are twofold. Step number 1 is just don't let him touch the ball. Treat him as if he is not on the court. And to do that, you can't just put one player on him. You have to put 2. So you'll put one player whose sole goal is to try to front him and stay in front of him at all costs. And then you'll have help players that are constantly not just like ready to help if the pass comes, but pre-helping so that there's a Jokic sandwich on the court so that the Nuggets have to go anywhere else. That is step one of the Jokic rules. And we've seen this to some extent before, but not as... It's like teams have gone a half measure. They're going a full measure. There's stills of the game last night where there's 4 players on Jokic and 1 player on the other 4 players on the Nuggets roster.
Yeah, no, it's more intense than ever before. I think there are more lineup combinations where you have multiple guys where teams would be comfortable. Last night it was Jonas on Russ and like on Russ so that he could be the big guy while a smaller, whether it's Levine or LaRavia or whatever, is fronting Jokic, mugging Jokic. So, it's more drastic than it has been in the past.
Well, what makes it more drastic is part 2 of the Jokic rules. Like, if you ask the Detroit Pistons about the Jordan rules, people would think, oh, they're just going to foul him. They're just going to try to hurt him, this or that. They're like, no, it was about keeping him out of the center. We're going to funnel him away from the center of the court and then get physical with him. With the Nuggets, with the Jokic rules, we're going to front him so that we try to make it hard for them to pass. But the second part of that is put a smaller guy on him and freedom of movement. That doesn't apply to Serbs. We don't have to do that for Serb players, for Jokic, for 3-time MVP. Freedom of movement doesn't exist for the big grizzly bear. So the second part of it is, like the Jordan rules, just foul him. Just get physical, push the limits.
Prevent him from moving.
Everybody has this take where it's like, oh, he's a little guy, man. Like, there's a little Jake LaRavia. Like, he can hang on him a little bit. He's little, man. Right. Like, we have to balance this out. And so clearly this is the part that is different from years past. One, it's more aggressive. They're extending themselves even further out to keep him from getting the ball. But in my opinion, number 2 is JJ Redick watched the Jokic play as a podcaster for a while and was like, they don't call fouls on him.
Yeah.
Or for him. Maybe we should just beat the hell out of him.
That is a real thing. And so this is where the whistle becomes... This conversation, I think, is a bit more than just a fan base whinging. It seems to be getting baked into game plans.
Yeah.
That this is an area where referees swallow their whistle. I offered Michael Malone the opportunity to go on a rant about, at risk of getting fined, about this very thing. But I mean, I think everyone knows it. It's not just the front. It's that the smaller guys seem to be able to push, you can't move. And then my least favorite call of the night last night was the offensive foul when Jokic finally fought back, right? There's no freedom of movement here. I engage with you physically and now it's a foul on me. Like, what is this? So that, to me, there is a part of this where the rules is, look, every fan base wish their guy got more calls, but I think this is a very real dynamic that is informing how teams are going to try to defend this guy when winning matters.
Yeah. Do we still have that? Do you have the scratches here, Kale? Because here's what's so funny. Because here's what's so funny to me, man, is there's a way to do this. Like, Jokic's clearly getting frustrated by it, and I do think there's a little bit of mental fatigue on Jokic's behalf right now for the whole season, for all of this stuff. But I think also from, like, man, every game you tip off, you're like, they're going to beat the hell out of me tonight. I'm probably going to get a new scar.
Right.
And he has all these scars on his arm right now. They're not cuts, they're scars. Some of the ones we recognize from years past. I mean, look at that circle one. We remember that. That was not something recent. That was a scar to his arm. Jokic has actual scars. That's 20 years from now, he's going to look back and be like, oh, yeah, they made this new defensive strategy. And that's what this is.
Yeah, and look, this has happened, but I mean, we're calling them the Jokic rules. What is the reference? What was the game plan for stopping Jordan? Beat the crap out of him, dude. Just beat him up and see if you can get away with it. And in a way, Westbrook brought this up last night. In a way, as the Nuggets sort of seek to navigate this, in the meantime, it is the ultimate testament to Jokic's greatness, man. That we're just gonna foul him. We're gonna engage in tackle football, and then also, the best defense is clearly giving 4 guys wide open threes.
Yeah.
Like, this is all just worth it to us.
Because the best offensive rating all time is if you play through Jokic. So anything short of that is worth it. And wide open 3-pointers from, like, pretty decent, at least, 3-point shooters.
They're like, that seems like a better formula for us. So
So who can do this defense? I'm going to try to go through the entire NBA real quick and tell you, because not everybody can, in my opinion. Not everybody has the sort of discipline, length, and wings and different things. I think the Cavs can do it. They have two bigs. I think they could pull off a similar style to this.
Definitely, man. I hate that matchup.
I think the Knicks maybe can do it. Not quite as well as anybody, but they do have guys like Josh Hart. Like the Jake LaRavia role requires a dog that's just working at all times. Like Josh Hart gets away with murder. He can do this type of stuff. So I think those teams in the Eastern Conference stick out to me the most. If you go to the Western Conference, I think the Thunder can do it. Yep. They have a lot of different guys. Like Lou Dort, if he needed to, could play that role. Obviously, Chet Holmgren and Hartenstein, although the one team that I don't think will get away with is Hartenstein. The guy, he's the opposite of Jokic. They call every foul on Hartenstein.
Yes.
He fouls out very quickly. But the Lakers clearly have demonstrated to do it. I think the Houston Rockets have the personnel, although I don't know if we'll see. Maybe they can do it. I think the Golden State Warriors for sure. Who gets away with more fouls than Draymond Green?
Yeah.
And now you got Jimmy Butler too. Like you could maybe make the Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green sandwich on Jokic. You know, that might be a way. The Minnesota Timberwolves for sure, I think, can do this.
Admittedly to a lesser extent though, right?
Julius Randle is not, but he hasn't been part of their team lately. So I maybe not with him, but I do think they can do it with personnel if
they can still do it. I just think not particularly the Towns Gobert duo was particularly good at it.
They really were. They really were good at it. I'm not sure. Sacramento did it last night with Jake LaRavia. I just don't. If you got into a playoff series, Denver won that one, and I don't think Denver did solve that defense. They just kind of overcame it. So those are the teams. It's a lot of Western Conference teams though that I think have the execution defensively, the length, and the enough players to be able to pull it off.
Yeah, it's going to happen maybe every round, and maybe every big game between now and the playoffs. I'll tell you who knows that. Who I got to speak with last night. Michael Malone, Jamal Murray, Russell Westbrook. They all know it. Malone's great quote. He went to the locker room. He said, fellas, get used to this. This is how it's going to be for the next 20 games. More than that, though, man. And then when you get into the postseason, too. So the formula is there. There's no doubt about it. How and one big question, too, right now I have is to what extent is Denver playing their cards close to their chest as far as counters versus maybe they don't have great cards this year.
Right.
And we'll find out here.
We will find out. And also just how scared are they of this, you know, because you have a couple. We have only really seen 2 games where teams have really implemented this. There's other games where there's been part of it. 2 teams have committed to it fully. That was the Lakers and that was the Kings. Denver went 1-1. So there's another layer of, is Denver shaking in their boots about this, or are they just confidently concerned, you know? Yeah. And I do think it might be a little bit more the latter.
Me too.
But how do you beat it? So, number one, we talked about it in segment 1. I do think Denver has to become a defensive team in these moments because this defense is a little bit easier to do. Give Russ an open 3 when you're up 10. He hit one. We're up 7 now. He hit another one. We're up 4. It's a little easier. You find yourself behind. Your team's not scoring very well. You find yourself down 5 and Russ just hit a 3 to push it to 8. And coach is saying, just keep at it. Keep at it. You're like, well, if he makes this one, we're down 11. And so I think Denver has to lean into their defense. It's almost like it's forcing Denver in a certain way to be focus on the defensive end. They're almost simplifying our offense in a way with how they're playing it.
Right.
And even an energy standpoint, it's simplifying it. Focus on your defense. I think that's step 1.
It was the company line last night.
Yeah.
It was the company, all 3 of them, uniform agreement. It was about the stops, which allowed them to get into transition, which allowed them to just play basketball. So it's not the only part of this. There does have to be some counters, which we'll talk about, coaching your way out of it in the half-court offense. But, sometimes I've found over the years we get ourselves all caught up trying to go, does offense inform defense? It's hand in hand. And a team like Denver just, I think, has to buckle down on the other end when they see this kind of resistance because that's what first in the first Zeke Naji stint, but then also the guys to start the fourth. That's where it flipped, man. Yeah. They got stops and they ran, and they are actually suddenly a really good team in transition. For years they were painful. Now they're so good at it.
I think the other thing, and we're going to go into another segment here, but just in this one real quickly, another thing is guys do need to make shots and they do need to shoot confidently. And this is where, even last night, and we talked about a couple games ago against Boston, 8 threes for Christian, 8 threes for Russ. I don't know that there's a way around that. Russ, to me, needs to cut out 3 or 4 of his shots a game that are bad and turn them into something else. Maybe it's other shots, but attacking the rim, trying to draw fouls, different things. there are a few that he needs to cut out, in my opinion, but he doesn't need to cut out all of them. Denver and Denver fans have to, in my opinion, accept that Russell Westbrook is going to get wide open threes, and there are moments throughout the game where he's going to just have to take and make those. Same with Christian Brown, and by the way, same with Peyton Watson as he enters the rotation a little bit more.
Yeah, I think so. Look, there has to, some of the corner threes just have to go up. They absolutely do. I did really like the sort of recalibration of his approach last night. He did take the wide open shots, but throughout the course of the game, the kind of like pull-up jumpers were supplanted by rim pressure. You know? Like a guy like Russ can actually still just attack the rim, even if there's two guys in the paint. And so like to me, it's the just kind of, the first possession of the game, he just walked it into the free throw line and the pull-up jumper. Like that's the stuff no one wants to see, right? But I think part of what Jamal and Russ were trying to say last night is like, look, if someone's wide open from corner three, like we do want them to take that shot.
Just take it. So you got to identify more than ever what the right shot is and what the wrong one is. Cut out the wrong ones and then live with the good ones. Because I think Russ, in my opinion, is a 36.5% three-point shooter. But he's a 34% three-point shooter when you add the bad ones, the quick ones, the out-of-rhythm ones. And it's like, hey, just cut that 2% out. Only take the good. Same with Christian Brown. Just cut the bad ones out, maximize the value, and be confident enough to step up that you punish teams when you get it. And hopefully Denver can get early leads because, like I said, I think this strategy is easy when you have a rhythm. When you're down 6-7 points, all of a sudden it's like, really, we're just going to give them an open three right now?
Yeah, exactly.
So let's take our second break. There's more, though. There's more things I want to talk about how Denver needs to attack the Jokic rules.
Red Hawk Roofing, Denver's best roofers, have joined the DNVR team. You might see them now on the broadcast. See that logo that's down there on our broadcast? I've even seen it on altitude. Don't forget about us, guys. And congratulations on your ascension, but we're your guys, right? Go with the pros. Make checking your roof part of your spring cleaning routine and catch any issues or repairs before they get out of hand. There's no project too small. For the fellas at Red Hawk, they're your go-to for everything from minor repairs to full roof replacement on your home or your business. And they also just want to be the guys that you call once and next time something comes up, we're calling them again. They want that lifelong kind of lasting relationship with the community. That's why they've worked so hard to kind of build up their word of mouth reputation. They're not here to rip you off, man. They're here to make sure.
Dude, we're getting testimonials, by the way, from homies who have used them. That is so cool. Like, nothing makes me happier than when DNVR brings together different people from different, like, oh, I met them at the takeover, or I heard from this and this, and we connected. I'm starting to hear these stories on Red Hawk Roofing where it's like, oh yeah, we used them, and I end up recommending them to my neighbor. And you're like, oh, that's cool, man. I love a good testimonial.
And that's music to their ears, man. That's what they're all about, which is why it's a great partnership with us. Supporting your local teams means also supporting local businesses like Red Hawk Roofing. If you're looking for a new roof over your home or business, be sure to check out Red Hawk Roofing at redhawkroofing.com or call 720-771-8921. Do us a favor, though. Tell them that we're the ones that sent you, if you don't mind. UC Health wants you to be very, very mindful of your health right now, and that can be a really kind of holistic thing, right? Like it can be about walking to work, Adam.
Oh man,
it can be about walking to work.
Kale, count it.
Or it can be about eating a little healthier when you're eating in the day. What kind of habits you're building.
Don't eat late at night.
That's
one of them. Don't little late night snack. Cut that out of your life, people.
Once you get on the beat, you start there's a lot of bad habits, like late night coffees and M&Ms and all this terrible stuff.
Shout out TJ McBride drinking his 8th cup of coffee at midnight.
Worst influence in my personal life ever. But I have found over the years, man, getting to work with professional athletes, they're so disciplined, they're so focused on their routine. My routine's becoming more important to me. My sleep routine, my walk routine. Build some routines into your life. Learn more about living like there is a tomorrow. Go to uchealth.org for more info. UC Health, live extraordinary.
We back? All right, we are back here, segment 3. Everybody go ahead and hit a like. Don't let Rocky down. Super Mascot Rocky's telling you to drop a like, you drop a like.
Oh, wow.
A couple other things Denver can do here. One, I think Denver is going to have to create some misdirection in their offense. And they started to do it last night. Like Michael Malone, I know it hasn't paid off yet. Michael Malone really is making adjustments here. And one of the things I talked about last night, and Pickett was actually at point, didn't end up getting the ball to Jokic here because I think they found something else, gave it to Zeke. Zeke missed a shot. But if you think about college basketball, longer shot clock, they'll run 3 misdirections to set up their actual action. And that's why when you watch it and teams aren't really playing hard defense, it's weird. Pass to the right corner, pass it back to the top, to the left, inside, outside, back. And you're like, they're just passing the ball around. They're not doing anything. What they're doing is trying to get the defense in motion before going for where they're going. And in the shot clock in the NBA is shorter. You got to get the ball across half court quickly, even off of makes, because now you're operating in a time crunch. And with misdirection, it might take 10 seconds to set the play up. So you need to get into your offense quickly. But what Denver is doing, and I think they're going to have to do an even better job of, is, okay, we know they're going to front when Jokic goes down into the post over here. And we know that the backside guy has to step out and be prepared or in position to step up to create the sandwich. Denver needs to get into those actions quick to drag the defense. You know, one thing I think about in these last 2 games against Boston and against the Kings, Aaron Gordon wasn't there. And Aaron Gordon is by far the best on the team at being a release valve. And I saw somebody say the triangle offense. One of the tenets of the triangle offense was that release valve. You go into the post, and the big on the opposite side flashes to the foul line, because if you overplay one, you can get there, and it's a quick reversal. I don't think the reversal will be there, because they're going to have the sandwich. But what is there when you have that release valve is a quick entry into your secondary action, which can be, okay, you get it to AG, Yoke's there with the sandwich, quick to Jamal, and now we're in a screen action because the guy who's making the sandwich is probably guarding AG, just sagging off of him, and now he has to run up to guard the pick and roll. So to me, it's setting up, getting the defense to overload, and building encounters that you go to quickly, not reads, but hey, we're going to do this because we know they're going to do that, and then we're going to go right into this so they have the most ground to cover. And I think Denver, that is the thing that hasn't paid dividends yet, but I see Denver building into their offense to try to get the defense in motion for their second option.
There was one Zeke checked in and then he flashed. He wasn't quite sure, I think, what to do. But this is what I was getting at earlier when I said they've seen this before. They've seen this before with Aaron Gordon in the starting lineup.
Yeah.
And I think that is a big part of, like, whether it's the dynamic you just described, a guy in the dunker spot where we also saw Zeke kind of help when he checked in. He's also been a slightly better corner shooter this year, which is a smaller part of it. But yeah, like, it's Aaron Gordon is supposed to be a part of this equation. And the first time teams tried to do this, Aaron Gordon was the guy. So I do think we may see a starting lineup and a coaching staff that look more equipped to counter and handle this with Aaron Gordon in the equation.
And Zeke last night, if you remember, I think he had a turnover trying to hit Jokic on one of these exact plays.
That's what I was talking about.
And so, it's not a skill set that he necessarily has in his arsenal, but I do think Denver can get creative. Maybe it's not Aaron Gordon in that spot. Maybe you use a Russ. They're also sagging off of Russ. Russ is a playmaker. Can he be the guy that you get the ball there, not to attack or shoot the floater, but get him into a secondary action? Now Russ is ball screening for Jamal Murray, and now you're out of position there. So there's things Denver can do to start to build these counters, but it requires pace in the half court because you got to get into your offense quickly, and it requires execution from the guys that I think they're going to start building in. But I think the next thing Denver has to do, another thing that'll take the air out of this defense, the air out of the sail of this defense, is foul trouble. And part of this is predicated on the fact that guys are allowed to hack the hell out of Jokic. And Jared Vanderbilt, they don't care if he fouls out. They just hope they can get 25 minutes of him before he fouls out. Jake LaRavia, we don't care if he fouls out, 25 minutes of him before. But what happens if you can draw fouls a little bit more quickly? Or, more importantly, what happens if the team is in the bonus? If Denver gets into the bonus in 6 minutes in the first quarter and they're trying this thing, well, now, is it as worth it to risk fouling Jokic where they might call it? Because now it's free throws. That's 2 free throws. That's even better than a typical half-court possession. So I think Denver has to find ways to draw foul calls. Before we get into the lobbying for this part, because that'll be my last part, I think that they have to now focus on that. Hey, we need to get to the line. We need to be aggressive, and we need to look. And I think it's part of why Murray last night, a little bit of a foul merchant.
Yeah.
2 times jumped into a shooter. I do think it's on Denver's mind of, hey, we need to draw fouls when they're doing this.
In like 3 of the 4 quarters last night, it looked like they got Sacramento into early foul trouble, but then never were able to quite get into the bonus with Jokic on the floor. It's like they almost did it, but didn't quite.
Yeah.
We've talked about this before. To some extent, perhaps a priority in the non-Jokic minutes. Yeah. Attack the rim.
Yeah.
And this transition stuff, run, attack. And if those, if it's 3 fouls called on, on you guys, on your defenders, that much more likely for Jokic to get in the bonus, and he's more likely to shoot free throws from the bonus than shooting fouls, as we know. So that is part of it, but notably not something they were able to manifest or really accomplish last night.
The lobbying part of this is important yet annoying, but I want to get into it. Jokic, to me, and I think it's mental fatigue, I don't blame him. This is getting to him in a way that is not productive. He's so clearly and visibly frustrated. He's doing the, like, grab my jersey. He's doing this. He's doing all these demonstrative things. And, like, look, I would do them too. I'm asking him to do something that I myself could not do.
Right.
Which is grin and bear it, turn the other cheek, or what have you. But I do think that Jokic has to learn the art of talking to the refs and letting them know what's happening in a way that is productive. And I know this is an unfair ask. The referees shouldn't suck at their job. But I do think there is a level of lobbying of, hey, man, walk me through what's going on here. I tried to cut. We have freedom of movement. And this guy puts his butt into me and tries to like hold me behind him like he's boxing me out, while I'm trying to walk over here. Like, work with the refs to be pointing these things out and get them. But I think the bigger piece to me, Michael Malone didn't want to take a fine last night. I understand it. I don't think he needs to. He can create Michael Malone goes viral as much as any coach. He's so good at it. He's so good at having the line, the zinger, the marketing, where the little thing that he packaged it in a way that everyone wants to talk about it because it's so good. Put that in your pipe and smoke it. He has all these great lines. He needs to be at home right now, not watching film. He needs to be figuring out what's the viral way for me to say this.
Right.
And I don't think it's that hard. Jokic has scratches all up and down his body. We have a battle of MVPs coming up on Sunday against Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. What happens to Shai Gilgeous-Alexander if you look at him wrong?
Yeah.
He's at the foul line. So I think there is a craft to Michael Malone that he needs to start playing now, because this needs to be, and he should liken it to Michael Jordan. He really should liken it, because it's not a thing of like complaining about my guy. Say, I've only ever seen this with Shaquille O'Neal and Michael Jordan, where they're just allowing the game plan by Jake LaRavia's own admission, by the way, after the game, was we're just trying to get physical with him and rough him up. Michael Malone needs to say, hey, is this something we're allowing in the era of freedom of movement when Shai Gilgeous-Alexander shoots 20 free throws a night? Is this what it's explicit that teams are saying we're just trying to rough him up?
Should I be telling my guy to flop more? Should I be telling my guys to flop more?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's the line. Yeah, that's the Malone.
No, you don't want him to, but make that part of the line. I feel like what happened last night is he seemed to get it, and it was, I don't have my carefully crafted one yet. All I could give you right now is the more emotional one. But I hope there's a crafted one.
But Vogt, we've had this conversation before in the past where I've said, Malone, you're good at and he's never done it. Malone can't let this season go by with the teams playing this defense. He has to find a way to make it a conversation point, not to the officials, he needs Stephen A. Smith talking about this, Kendrick Perkins talking about this, Brian Windhorst talking. He needs to make this the thing when any national story and narrative setter, whenever they are talking about it, they talk about it this way, and he needs to craft that.
I agree. I think it's time, especially because you see Jokic's frustration boiling over when you brought up his focus and attention and his, whether it's on the refs or not earlier. I think it's one of the great areas of improvement in Jokic's career, right? When I watched Luka Doncic last year and the ways in which he was almost ready to do it, but not, to me, it was like, man, I watched Jokic have to clear these hurdles, and he did.
Yeah.
Slowly realize it's about the opposition, not the referees and all this stuff. But right now, in the peak of this stuff, I think we're seeing Jokic grow increasingly frustrated.
Yeah.
And what you don't want is Jokic to lose focus, and Malone credited him for keeping his composure. So then someone do it for him.
Yeah.
Is kind of your point. And I think it's time, because this is just going to keep happening, man.
Well, the other reason this is the best time to do this, Jokic is covered in scars right now. You know what I mean? Like, he always has some kind of scars on him. He's bleeding profusely from his arms right now. And the game's on ABC. I think before that game, or at some point leading into that game, that needs to be a talking point, and his goal should be, I want this discussed on the broadcast. I want the broadcast to zoom in on Nikola Jokic's bloody arms 5 times during that game, so that people are like, damn, man. And I'm telling you, there's weird things in people's minds where they're willing to accept the crazier conspiracy above the actual Occam's razor example. And this is why, and I pushed back on you the other week, Jokic might have softer skin than most people.
Yeah, I'm just kidding, man.
But I'm saying there might be a thing, right?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. matter. The man has lifetime wounds on his arms in a game he shoots 0 free throws. To me, it's like, okay, maybe his skin is softer. That's not what's going on here. Yeah. That's not what that is.
The Lakers sent the league a memo. The Nuggets should send the league a slideshow.
An entire slide. Literally, they should get a doctor. They should be like, it's actually risky of infection. And
get a doctor to go, this one's not going away. This one will never go away. Yeah. This one will never go away.
He's being maimed for life. It's literally maimed.
It's also because, man, you have this great zag to the way some people think that everyone is playing basketball right now. Like, Jokic is just so different. He's not this perimeter player who hunts fouls and stuff. And it's like, that should be rewarded, not punished. So it's just really frustrated that in a ticky-tack foul era, which, let's not kid ourselves, we're in.
Yeah.
And some of this stuff is just egregious, man. It's egregious. And I try so hard not to talk about it every night because Jokic is so good that we have the benefit of being able to rise above it. But, it's part of this, man. And some of the no calls last night were as bad as I've seen.
Shout out to Sapien Galore, who took time out of his busy schedule of gooning in his mom's basement to hop in a podcast of a team he doesn't even follow to try to make friends. Good job, buddy. Good job. Let's go on now. We're going to do a new segment here that I like. We have the Colorado Lottery has this cool thing. They now have a new scratch ticket that is Denver Nuggets specific. And you know what I like about this? You ever have a scratch ticket, you can't tell how it's supposed to work?
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, damn, I won, but I did it wrong, so now it doesn't count anymore. This one's nice and cool. Your score, your opponent's score, and we're going to do a new thing here where we take a look at this while we also frame a conversation about scratching the surface of Zeke Naji, Peyton Watson, and Jalen Pickett. This is Scratch the Surface powered by Colorado Lottery. Grab your Mile High Basketball $5 scratch card for your chance to win. Let's scratch the surface. So before we get into the segment, Kale. Oh, man, I just dropped my quarter. Oh, we're having a tough time here.
Yeah, my quarter's gone, brother.
Who wants to go first? Why don't you go first here, Vogt?
Okay. Am I scratching off or giving a take?
No, you're scratching off. We're finding out first, man, if we're going to win $50,000.
This is game 1 of 20, so buckle up at home.
All right, what do we got? You should do what you win first. Maybe we both should do these. Might take a minute here. Because there's like 20 of these. All right, my prize for the first one is $5,280, and I lost.
Brother.
110 to 125? That's not a bad loss.
Destroyed. I lost 122 to 8. Oh, no. That's 108. All right.
Okay. This is kind of funny in that I guess you have to assume that most of these will be losses. So you just keep scratching and the Nuggets keep losing.
This is awesome.
I've lost 5 in a row. I'm on a losing streak. This is the 99 Nuggets I'm on right now. All right, I've lost 7 in a row, 8 in a row, 9 in a row, 10 in a row. I'm on a losing streak over here. I lost 10
we are not going to make the playoffs, Adam.
I don't think I got 10 more over here, Kale. Hold on. I got 105, 114. I lost. Did you win? You won?
$5. We won 123 to 109 in game 10 there.
Man,
so that was big.
Oh man, I've only got 2 more left. I went 0 for 20. I can't believe this. Card number 1.
0 for 20 is tough.
I'm on a 20-game lose streak right now. Did you get them all? My closest game, 94 to 97. This is hilarious.
Oh man, just one win, but that $5 is gonna go so far.
Well, we said we were gonna split that.
Yeah, no, we're going to Illegal Pete's.
Oh hell yeah, let's do it, baby. It's kind of a cool game though. I like it. You just scratch it off. It's like a little $5 scratcher.
It's a cool game, but it's one thing to lose a scratch off. It's another when it says you lost the $50K grand prize by 1 point. By 1 point. Which player do I blame that on?
You guys can play that now. New game from the Colorado Lottery. We're going to talk, though, about scratching the surface. And there's 3 players that are just scratching the surface. Or are they? I want to talk about Zeke Naji. I put this out on Twitter last night. And I think it's like, I think other people might have been there before me. I just I don't want to ever feel like I'm doing too much recency bias. I believe that as of March 5th, 2025, Zeke Naji is in the circle of trust. The circle of trust, not the hey, we'll give him a flyer. Maybe he can play against this matchup, that matchup. Zeke Naji to me is a player that when he steps on the court, I have trust that he is going to perform well, and that includes my expectations of him in the playoffs.
Yeah, when I last wrote about Zeke Naji, I was saying that he made the case for being in the playoff rotation. I have since upgraded that to this guy should be in the playoff rotation.
Yeah.
Just should. Hey, here's let's make it real simple. Are the Nuggets good at defense?
No.
Is Zeke Naji good at defense?
Yes.
I'd like him in the rotation. Yeah. Bring him in.
Can he make a 3-pointer in the pressure cooker? According to last night.
Apparently he can. But here's the other thing, too. It wasn't just like, oh, wow, he really moved his feet well on that switch against the Hornets.
Yeah.
Every time he was the primary
Zach LaVine
defender, I felt great.
DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine.
Bro, who blocks a DeMar DeRozan mid-range jump shot without fouling him?
Yeah.
No one. And there was another huge play at the rim, and he kind of fought for it, and the ball, it's a loose ball, but it last goes off of the Kings, and Jamal's all pumped up, and Zeke's pumped up. And yeah, much like Christian Brown before him, Zeke Naji has shown how far playing your ass off can take you as a role player in the NBA. And I think, I like when he's on the floor right now. It
meant something to me too that he played center last night for a majority of it, or centers doing some work here. But I'm just saying, offensively, he was the center. It was like he was the big guy, because I know a lot of people are like, he can't do that. He has to be power forward. I don't think you want him guarding Big Val, although he did get one stop on him, fouled him the other time. But I do think there's more versatility than what is sort of imagined about him.
I also think there's maybe more to this than just they moved him to 4 and now he's good.
Correct. 100%.
But I think what's also easy to forget is there were some maybe less than successful auditions for Zeke Naji in the past. It wasn't all injuries, right?
I think it was mostly confidence. Mostly confidence.
That's really the big one, man. And so you can see his confidence right now. So effusive. And I say this, by the way, there's no criticism here. Zeke Naji is celebrating every play he makes right now like he's in the finals. And I love it.
I know, I do too.
I love it.
He does have a good pump himself up.
Because he senses what's happening for him right now. But there's the compounding effect with the confidence, and it's fun to see.
But are we just scratching the surface of it, Vogt, which is the question here, which is Zeke Naji's playing great right now. They gave him a contract. They have him locked up. Is it possible that Zeke Naji, I think he's getting more confident, he's getting more effective. Is it possible, maybe within these 20 games, but maybe within the next year, that Zeke Naji, we go from going like, we could trust that guy, we could play him, to, can he just be one of the guys? Is it possible he provides you a flexibility because he plays defense, he shoots the 3, maybe he gets even better at that over time with confidence. Is it possible it's like, no, Zeke Naji is part of what Denver is trying to be?
Some of the little things we were talking about earlier, like maybe how Zeke Naji would be used or should play against the Jokic rule. Like, these are the little boxes for him to check, I think, for the answer to that to be yes, right? Okay. Where you go, yeah, like it's not just that he does this thing well or this thing well, like he really gets it, right? Yeah. It's a connective part of what they even do offensively. For now, the resurgence of the 3-point shot is huge, man. It was his first NBA skill, actually, that we noticed.
Yeah.
And it was great for him, and he changed it. And honestly, at that stage in his career, it maybe even almost cost him his career, man. But right now, that looks like a guy that can shoot open threes.
It also looks like a guy, again, we don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but if you went into next season, you would be like, oh no, that guy can play 20 minutes a night, maybe more. That's a 20 to 30 minute a night kind of guy, and why not? Oh, Aaron Gordon's out for 2 weeks. Well, Zeke Naji's in there. That's the same thing for 2 weeks.
And this is part of Denver's bench over the years. You could find 2 or 3 guys, but then there's just 4 guys at the end of the bench that aren't even playing. Yeah. And one of them's been Zeke for the longest time. And if it's a guy that's actually an asset, then that changes a lot of the equation.
Circle of trust, round and round we go. Peyton Watson came back from injury last night. I think with him, it's a little bit more ambiguous just because we haven't seen him for a bit. But nonetheless, for me, Peyton Watson brings something to this team that they desperately need. And it's not like we're super confident in the other guys' scoring right now. I look at it and I go, Peyton Watson is another guy that, for me, I think we're just scratching the surface. And I think there have been guys who have been eating minutes from him in some form or fashion that maybe are out of the way right now. I think that this is the most fascinating 20-game stretch of Peyton Watson's career incoming right now.
Did you guys talk about him on the show last night?
Very briefly. There wasn't much notes. I think D-line was pretty low on him. I actually thought he defended well. His first 2 minutes were rough, but I thought he settled after that.
Yeah, they were going to be rough, right? After such a lengthy absence for a player like that. So
he didn't look hurt to me.
No, he didn't. That's a really good point. There are these little things for Peyton that I hope to see him, I guess, iron out confidence in. Like every time he drops a ball in the fast break or something, or it bounces.
Well,
it's just.
I have no confidence in his dunks right now. It's
I
the
know.
craziest thing that I am like, oh, he's super athletic. He can't dunk, and I don't know why.
These are kind of the little things that I'm holding my breath, right? Because it's his defense undoubtedly makes this team better.
Yeah.
But then in a playoff setting, you go like, is he going to panic on that wide open fast break?
I know.
And I think the answer is yes. So, this is why every minute has mattered for Peyton. And so I'm glad he's back.
Yeah. The last one is, so scratching the surface, I think with all three of the guys we're talking about, there's an investment you have to make in these guys to get over the hump. And I hate the Nuggets haven't invested more heavily, more quickly on those guys. But I still think that Peyton has an enormous upside. This will be a big offseason for him no matter what happens, because he needs to make a substantial leap on his offensive end. But to me, it's worth the investment from Denver. And this last guy's the most interesting one, and that is Jalen Pickett. I actually thought he was good last night. He was part of the worst stint, but I didn't think any of it had to do with him. It was just a really bad stint there in that first half. But I still look at him as a player that when he's on the court, I'm never at any point thinking Denver is now compromised. I don't think that. I think he's going to guard. He'll make open shots if they're there. He'll get the ball where it's supposed to go. He's not going to be awesome at any one thing of those things. But I just don't feel at this moment it's like, damn, they're picking on Pickett.
Bro, I almost called you. We were both working. Did you see the foul they called on Pickett when DeRozan tried to dig out mid-post position for a turnaround and Pickett just moved? Pickett moved him like an offensive lineman, like into the.
He's so strong.
Into the front row, brother.
Yeah.
And by the way, he didn't like the call. I'm kind of thinking like with how Laravia's playing on Jokic. Hang on a second.
Yeah, I know.
Little Pickett can't dig out position, but this is neither here nor there with what you were saying. But I literally almost texted you. I was like, bro, DeRozan was like, who's behind me, dude?
Yeah.
He just completely dug him out of position. The open three he hit. Yeah, like again, you want to be careful not to overstate this stuff. But I think in the meantime, even that he's just a guy that could play for 5 minutes at a time, and you're not like, I'm worried.
Yeah.
It's really, really encouraging. It's the stuff you hope to get out of a point guard that played for a long time in college, right? He's like a mature player, man. He's a mature player.
Very mature. And I did this in the DNVR Discord the other day where I was showing some clips that really stand out to me about Jalen Pickett. And some of the stuff he does, he sets insanely hard screens, man. He loves physicality. He loves it. Like some guys will accept it or whatever. He seeks physicality. When he gets a screen, especially off ball for Jokic, the point of a Pickett for Jokic screen, it's not to get him open. It's to force a switch. And he knows the angles to take, but also the level of physicality required. And you see this, and not to pick on your guy, but Michael Porter, a lot of times, it's like, oh, he needs to set an off-ball screen.
It's not happening.
It just kind of like goes into him, like whatever.
Yeah.
Pickett, it's like a lineman, making a block. He finds him and puts his whole body into, like, flexes his body and makes sure that guy gets stuck.
He might be the strongest guy on the team, pound for pound.
Pound for pound, honestly, I think he probably is. And then little things, like I pointed out, was these are little fundamentals. When somebody's trying to cut through the lane and you are in a help position, or you're one pass away and somebody 2 passes away is cutting, you give them a shove. You make yourself in their way so that they have to go around you. Like it could be a foul if you just shove them.
Yeah.
But they're coming, trying to cut this way. Well, I'm going to stand in the way, make my body big so he has to like bump my shoulder. He does it every time. He makes everything slow down and he just gets this physicality. To me, Pickett's on a minimum deal. This is why I was always so up in arms when people were talking about, oh, there's no way you could trade this. I think he's already played himself into tradable territory. But more beyond that, he's a super high IQ player, and I think the Nuggets are late. I think Michael Malone is late to the party, but I think that he is a guy that can be. If we're scratching the surface, yes, I think Jalen Pickett's an NBA player. I think he's an NBA backup point guard, and maybe that means he's an NBA backup point guard for our Denver Nuggets. All right, let's go to our super chat scale. How many we got?
5.
Yeah.
Mr. Exquisite Nugget, good show. Vote no, Adam. We need Aaron Gordon back ASAP.
Definitely need AG back. That's a storyline, by the way.
Hashtag flowers for Nuggets. MPJ is the secret sauce. If he can drain some threes, if CB can do his fast breaks, if AG can keep his average up, if. It's all if. DNVR rules.
DNVR rules. I can't tell if that's like Jokic rules or if that's like the DNVR rules.
I think it's a compliment. Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's a nice compliment. Macaroon. What lineup would you guys like to see? Honestly, would like to see a Russ, PWat, Hunter, Zeke, Jokic stagger. You may have lost me with Hunter.
Yeah, I'm
no
not
spacing, but let's get right defensively.
I mean, if you're trying to get right defensively, I don't think you want Hunter Tyson out there. I like Hunter, man. He's a good guy. I don't have faith that he's a player.
Did Peyton and Zeke play next to Jokic together at all last night? I'm trying to remember.
I don't think so, but I wouldn't mind seeing that lineup too.
That's
to be
what
honest,
I thought about. Kyle M. Hey, Vogt. Hey, Kyle. W. Kane. Thanks, Vogt, for asking Malone last night. We might figure it out, although it shouldn't be on us to solve. I wonder if others are talking about it.
Many people are talking about it, man. Many people are talking about it. I don't think Malone's going to do anything. You can hit that outro music, Kill. I don't think Malone's going to say or do anything, but I think he should. I'll be curious to see if he tries to play that note between now and Sunday. Don't do it before the Suns game. They're not physical. They've given up on their season. Going into that OKC game, I think it's something you want to say. Guys, that does it for us today. We are back tomorrow for our takeover, which did sell out. Shout out to everybody about last-minute tickets. We're going to be doing the takeover tomorrow, which means we'll have people on the post-game show you're not going to want to miss. Everybody hit that like button on the way out. We'll see you.